The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
There's only a giddy up. There's no guns up tonight. It's just a giddy up.
I try to do the guns up. That would just be disrespectful.
A giddy up without a guns up is, I just feel like half a podcast here, folks. I'm Mike the Cop. Welcome to Failure to Stop Podcast. Night shift, baby. Or as Eric would say, baby. I'm alone. On the live stream. All right.
Sarah here with you.
We have the Wolf Pack is out in force, I'm sure, tonight in the live chat on YouTube. This is the Failure to Stop Podcast, the #1 show where law enforcement meets culture. This is the night shift edition. That is the Tuesday night live stream and Wednesday audio. We have 5 shows a week on this podcast stream. Mondays is Off the Cuff. It's law enforcement news with myself and Dave, a.k.a. He Big Daddy D. Tuesday nights is Night Shift, what you're listening to right now or watching, hopefully, on our YouTube channel, live every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. And that is, it's turning into story time. We're bringing in guests, people that have interesting stories or know interesting stories to tell them to us. Tonight, we are going to be talking about Henry Lee Lucas versus Samuel Little, some notorious confessions of serial killers, right? We're talking fake confessions in exchange for milkshakes / a serial killer that has the record for the most number of kills stateside. So crazy, little true crimey, serial killery show tonight. And we have a special guest to talk about that. I'll introduce him soon. Thursdays is Last Call with Tansy and the Overpaid Producer, giving you all your pop culture needs to sound like a normal person on the weekends. And Friday is the flagship show. We break down cases past and present and give you our take on it. And every once in a while, we'll do breaking special episodes like we did last week on Uvalde, which is on fire. And we are, boy, guys, I don't even have enough time to talk to you about the feedback we've gotten on that. Both it's extreme. It's mostly positive though, but there is some extreme things. And we're sticking to our integrity guns right now with this. So Rip Pack is here in the chat. Tansy's getting it on his Ghostbed while swishing Rip Pack tooth powder. Where is Tansy? He is on a road trip. He had to handle some Instill Distilling Company business in the Sunshine State. So he's down there, hopefully not becoming a Florida man story that we'll all hear of later, but he is on the way back home to North Carolina, unable to be on the live stream tonight. So it's payback time. He did a couple of night shifts without me when I was down and out, when I was on my deathbed with the Rona. And now he's left me to my own devices here tonight with you all. So, man, that's the show. Ghostbed. This episode is brought to you by Ghostbed. Tansy's really good about reading the right stuff, like that they actually want us to say. And I'm just too lazy and or stubborn to really get into all of those details. I'll tell you this. I got a Ghostbed earlier this year. Changed my life. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million more. It changed my life because I sleep like a normal human being now. And I got a third of my life back. The underpaid producer has a Ghostbed.
Had the same results. I was not believing it, and then I stopped being able to sleep on my regular mattress.
Oh yeah,
that was nice. And then I was like, I'm going to buy a Ghostbed. Why not? They sponsor the show. I'll get the discount with code Drinking Bros. And
DRINKINBROS. Save 30%.
And guess what, man? I sleep awesome. I slept like a baby last night.
I love it.
I slept through. Warning.
So you got up every 2 hours to suck on a tit?
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That's how babies sleep, right?
Yeah.
I always get a little chuckle out of people saying they slept like a baby. I'm like, well, all my kids like got up a lot. So it's kind of like not a great thing.
Yeah, no, I slept really great.
Nice.
And I slept through an alarm the other day. I never do that.
Well, it happens. Especially when you're sleeping so good, it's scary. All seriousness, guys. Ghostbed. Get one if you want one. And use the code Drinking Bros. There you go. Let me see them comments, man. I want to see what people are saying. All right. Is that all the housekeeping items?
I think so.
Disruptors. They're new on
Their episode.
They're a new episode style on the Failure to Stop
It's awesome.
family of shows. I'm like not quite halfway through today's episode. I've been trying to kind of digest it as I go. Man, oh man, it's like those guys, BC and Ski, have been behind the microphone and together doing a show for years. Just fantastic. Overpaid producer is handling all the tech side of that and doing a phenomenal job. And just couldn't be proud of those guys.
It was awesome.
Yeah, man, they keep
What a
getting
great
better
team
every
over
week.
there.
Love it, love it, love it. So good job, guys. Rip Pack. If you have not gotten your waterless toothpaste known as Rip Pack, it could be oral or anal, whichever you prefer. I prefer, depending on the time of the day, it's like a coin toss essentially. All right. So go to Rip Pack. Go to rippack.com and use what's the code? I don't know. Is there a code?
Yeah.
Wolfpack. Yeah. Use the code Wolfpack, save 15%. And I believe Rippack is in the chats tonight. He can talk himself up in the comments, but I think that he started a subscription thing now. So, and we're waiting for Dave's review. Dave got some.
Oh, is it where you don't have to like keep buying it?
Yeah, it's like I think it just renews,
That's
automatically
awesome.
comes
That's
in.
really smart.
So that's better for me instead of thinking about, oh crap, I'm out, I need to order again. I'm like, hey, that stuff just needs to come once a month. So, all right, cool. That's it, man. We got 6 minutes of housekeeping items. Thank you guys for listening. If you want to support the show, failuretostop.com, and you can support there by getting some merch, all of your whiskey glasses that you ordered for the 1 million download separation. Dude, I need some non-alcoholic beer to calm down. That we celebrated our 1 million downloads with. Those start shipping out tomorrow. Thank you for that. And then YouTube membership is an option if you want to do that. It gets you some perks. So if you're a YouTube junkie and you want to support us that way, you can do that too. And you get special recognition in the chat and Discord privileges and all that other crap. So, all right. Whew, I did it. I made it so far without you, Tansy. And if you're listening, I love you. Ben Marsh would like to know, Rip Pack, what's the record for anal uses Rip Pack at one time? I'd like to break that record. Well, that would be something.
Good luck, Ben Marsh. I'm praying for you.
I feel like we should do something for the show that'd be cool, like to raise support for the show. Be like, if we hit 10,000, I'll do a Rip Pack on my butthole live. And
I think
I think that would make us more money than anything we've ever done. For the sheer curiosity of it all.
You wouldn't show your butthole, would you?
I'd have to for 10K.
Man,
I'm not going to do that, but I think that we would sell. I think we would do better at that than whiskey glasses. I don't know. The chat can decide. All right. Our guest today was laughing at a line that he heard on Off the Cuff. When I called him, I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm just learning about anything goes better if you have enough lubricant, or anything will work if you." I can't remember. He might even remember the line. I don't even remember what I said. I'm like, well, I mean, it's hard to deny. The more lubricant, the better with most things in life, I guess. All right. Victor Dobro is a police officer now into the foray of acting. He is. Can you pull the website up real quick
for you?
For me. Yeah, he's currently on HBO's We Own This City. That show, if you have seen that or heard about that. He's been on White House Plumbers, The Walking Dead, WB, which World Beyond or something like that, I think. I haven't kept up with that particular stream of Walking Dead. Hulu's Dope Sick, A&E's True Conviction, upcoming projects on Talons of the Phoenix, Austin, The Clowns, A&E's Dispatch 911, Amazon's Jack Ryan. Oh my gosh, are you going to be the new Jack Ryan? Let's welcome Victor into the stream. Are you the new Jack Ryan? You can tell us here, announce it on Failure to Stop.
Yeah, I wish, but no, thank you for that great introduction.
Well, maybe if you tried harder, you could be Jack Ryan.
Well, I think they're finishing season 4, but they haven't even released season 3 yet.
Well, maybe you're in for season 5.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Tell us about before we get into the serial killer stories that you're going to tell us tonight. We want to get to know the storyteller a little bit. So what's your police background?
24 years experience, 3 different agencies, and I'm about done.
Yeah.
I got
mentally or literally.
Yeah. I got about 4 years left. And that's where I'm at. But I worked in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in a small municipal agency in Maryland, and now I'm with another larger county agency in Maryland. So borders Washington, D.C., in between D.C. and Baltimore, basically. But I've been
essentially you're dealing with no crime ever, usually.
Man, I'll tell you, I went from Albuquerque high crime to, a county with pretty much high crime in different areas.
When I started looking into Albuquerque after watching Breaking Bad for a second time, I watched the whole season again not too long ago. What was my record? I think I watched the entire 5 seasons of Breaking Bad in less than 10 days.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
I was in a midlife crisis. I was in a funk.
I was excited at first for you. And then as it progressed and you were telling me where you were at in the series, I got more and more sad.
I had I didn't realize I was in a deep depression until season 4. And then I'm like, what am I doing with myself? I had realized I had been 2 days on the couch, no shower, no pants. Neighbors had been by. It was, I think there was welfare checks. The department came. I don't know what was going on, but I made it through. But Albuquerque's a real shithole.
It's it's tough. I tell you, Breaking Bad was really cool because it was very realistic. They had, Albuquerque police as consultants, and I'm watching the show and I'm seeing, prostitutes and drug dealers getting arrested in hotel rooms where I actually have arrested prostitutes and drug dealers. So I'm like, yeah, that's pretty realistic with the open air drug market and everything. But they were spot on, and that's one of the best shows ever. But I wasn't a part of that. But I've had friends on that show, but I've been able to get on shows out here on the East Coast now.
Right. That's nice, man. So almost done being a cop. When did you start having an interest in the acting thing, and what was your first steps in that?
Good question. Actually, when I was in Albuquerque, so they had a few movies come into town, and I was paid overtime just to block the road. So I've had Christopher Walken come up to me at craft services, and
he was like, I have a watch in my ass. I want you to search me for it.
And he's asking me if I'm going to eat everything on my plate. And so I had that really exposure, but I had a few friends that were background, and then they would maybe get bumped up from background to a speaking, line here or there. And I didn't know how the guys got into it or whatever. I thought it was pretty cool, but I always thought initially I wanted to get into just consulting. So I would go to these comic book conventions and meet these celebrities, and they'd find out I'm a cop, and they're like, well, that's cool, man. They're like, why don't you get into consulting? And I'm like, well, how do you do that? So I kind of researched it and trying to tailor a resume to get into, consultant as a police, TV and film consultant. But it's a very hard niche in the industry. And I haven't done anything paid yet for that. But
I feel like they don't care, because every time I look at police scenes and I'm like, why did they just click the safety on their Glock off? Or why did they rack the gun when they did? Or I'm like, what is going on right now?
Yeah, 30 minutes in the scene. You know what that comes down to is really budget And it really just budget. Are you dealing with a low budget project or a big, Hollywood production? I mean, if these people have money, they're gonna pay for professionals. So I've worked with professional, like military advisor Kevin Kent, and he's getting bigger in the industry. He's doing a lot of big projects, and he also doubles, and he's an actor and stunt man. But I find it very hard to get like paying police consultant roles. So I kind of just use that as marketing to get in as an actor.
Yeah.
So that's really just researching. And I tell people, learn how to do anything on YouTube. So I've learned how to drag race, in a quarter mile with my car, and then learned how to, get in that entertainment.
As opposed to on the back of a literal drag queen.
No, yeah, drag racing at a quarter mile drag.
I started that. That's going really well actually on the weekends. You get 2 drag queens and you jump on their backs and you smack them in the ass and see how fast they can go. And I go, and you just get a few people, you lay bets on it, and that's a good time. Someone in the comments said the real reason Tansy is here because he wasn't here to say anything that would make the guest uncomfortable. So, like, I know you're like shit. Who's gonna what director or potential person gonna hire me is gonna watch me deal with these guys talking about smacking drag queens like they're horses.
Just blame it all on Mike.
It's all my fault. I've
There's
ruined many
nobody
careers,
else.
including my own, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
What was the first acting gig, like a paid acting gig that you got?
Well, the first paid was Walking Dead World Beyond. And it was a funny story because I tell cops, if you have good pictures of you in uniform or you're a soldier or former soldier, if you show some good pictures and they're looking for cops or soldiers, you should get a role, at least as background.
Yeah.
Which is easier to get. So Walking Dead World Beyond used me as like a CRM soldier. And then it was featured, which means that like you're in focus in camera, and then recurring. So I'm like in several episodes. The caveat, the catch to that is I'm wearing a mask that covers my entire face the whole time. So, I tell everyone, hey, I'm on TV, make sure you turn in. But I know for a fact, 9 out of 10 times, the scene is going to be with me with a mask on. And really, you could just say you're any of the soldiers walking around. Like, yeah, that's me with the mask on. But I'm in a bunch of scenes and I'm in focus, but you don't see my face but like twice. So that was a little disappointing, but it was the experience I needed to really get my foot in the door for other projects.
Yeah.
It was just background. They didn't pay much. I'm driving 4 hours a day just for COVID tests, 3 days a week. And I'm taking a pay cut by taking so much time, acting as background instead of working police overtime. But it was worth it to get on my resume to get these other exposure and jobs, really.
Nice. Did somebody from We Own This City did they reach out to you based on things that you had already done, or was there like a casting call that you submitted your stuff to, or how did that work?
Yeah, good question. I mean, when you're brand new to the industry, I found like they call it like cold call, where they're looking for local actors to fill in the roles after they've already cast these guys from LA. So We Own the City, they know they want John Bernthal. They know what director they want, and Josh Charles and these different guys. Most of them are based out of LA. But then after that, like all the smaller roles that, they call them like day player roles, you're trying to look for regional actors. So, either the casting directors know who's in the area, but like nobody knew me at all. So I happened to see this and I auditioned, and it was weird. It's great. The first audition I ever did live on Zoom, I booked a role, but for a different role, not for the one that I actually auditioned for. And it worked out great. But since then, yeah, I've gotten what's called like audition requests. So now the casting, agents, directors in the area like know of me, and then I'll get a few like specific requests for roles that other actors might not get. Now they do send it out, like, and they're looking for real cops, they're looking for real nurses, real bartenders. So, I mean, that's just kind of my niche, which is great. I mean, I have actor friends that say, yeah, when I first started, they said, you're not going to have a hard time finding cop roles. So I was like, well, that's good news. So now I actually have, audition requests for like 3 different shows, and I'm being asked about my availability on one of them, and that's good news. So that would be, my second speaking role in a major production. Everything else is background or low budget.
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. Well, that's I always love seeing cops that have an interest, whether it's acting or entrepreneurship or whatever, and they're willing to step out of their normal comfort zone of the police world to do it. You know, there's a lot of Debbie Downers in the police world that want to keep you down and, you know, look, I think a lot of it is jealousy, you know, looking down on you trying to do something different or expand your horizons and opportunities. And so kudos for that.
But, you know, I've heard I think you were a guest on Jason Piccolo's show.
Uh-huh.
And I quoted you to him saying that these cops that are at any point, you can market yourself and change your career. You don't have to wait till you retire, but like cops are kind of scared. They don't want change. They feel safe, and which is ironic in this field, feeling secure.
Yeah.
But you know, I quoted you saying like, you got to give yourself more credit. All the life experiences we have, there's a lot of jobs you're really qualified for, like right off the bat.
Yeah. So, I was talking to somebody. So we have like this 10-7 project where we're helping, our goal is 10,000 first responders, you know, including veterans, to help them supplement and replace their income through real estate. So we're working on that project. And a couple of weeks ago, somebody reached out for like a little coaching call and was like, I'm just, you know, afraid that I'm going to fail at whatever. I'm like, okay, listen, if you get called to an alarm call and you go in and you got to open closets and doors that you don't know what's behind, do you do it? Well, yeah. So you're telling me you're okay with dying at an alarm call, but you're not okay making that phone call or taking that step. You know, it doesn't make any sense. You're already equipped to deal with fear and move through it. Like, oh, I really never thought about it like that. Like, yeah, exactly. Like this job gives you a very big catch-all of skills to be able to utilize in any field that you're interested in. It doesn't have to be real estate. It could be anything. I mean, Tansy distills rum and sells it, you know, like it's any of our interests. You can take those skills and put them to work. So it's cool to see a cop that's had real experience having an impact on how a cop would be portrayed, you know, that carrying themselves in an acting role where it didn't take you going to ride around like End of Watch for 6 months with LAPD to figure out what a cop would talk like or walk or whatever. You already are, so you just carry that in. Yeah.
I mean, John Bernthal did that. He rode with Baltimore City cops. A lot of the guys that I'm friends with that I talked to, he even got swung on by a suspect in the street. About ride along. So he's seen the good and bad. He's seen the eager officers, the ones that want to do work. He's seen the lazy officers. And John's cool. He asked me my opinion on the state of affairs and policing. And so have the director, Ronaldo Marcus Green. You know, he directed King Richard, and that's Will Smith won that award. And he's really nice. He's a cool guy. But they both asked me like my opinion, and I was like, it was cool that they would even talk to me, much less ask me my opinion.
Yeah.
I haven't made like the media tour round that you know, the tour that these guys go on all over the country and the you know, the Morning America shows and stuff like that. They're not calling for me.
Well, they ought to be.
Yeah.
Hey, John Bernthal, you bitch.
No.
Step up. I respect that dude. Everything I hear, he's an even thinker. Good fair shot guy. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So tonight, Tansy said, and I talked to you a little bit earlier, who are these serial killers, man? We got Henry Lee. What is his name?
Henry Lee Lucas and Samuel Little.
Henry Lee Lucas and Samuel Little. Comparing, contrasting. Yeah. Oh, Tansy's here.
Yeah, he's talking in the chat.
He's also, unless he's got a driver, he's really putting his life at risk being in this chat. So you all better show him some respect.
How much he loves us.
I guess that's how much he loves us. He's gonna chat and drive. So I'm putting him on the spot. So tell us. I'm turning the keys of the show over to you, man. Like you tell us the story, and I'm gonna ask questions, and you unveil to us what you have for us.
I will unload on you right now.
Hot.
The reason why I picked these guys, I've being a cop here in Maryland, I'm friends with one of these cold case detectives, and he's one of my favorite guys to talk to because they got just great stories. Everyone loves these cold case, solved, unsolved murders and stuff. So he's telling me about this guy, Samuel Little, and that this guy's a big, murderer. He's copping to all these murders. And so I'm like, oh, okay, it sounds like anybody else. And he tells me a story how they go to Texas to interview him. I was like, wow, they went all the way to Texas for a cold case. Then he tells me this cold case is like from 1970 something. So it's like older than me. It's over like 40, 50 years old or whatever. So I'm like, wow. And right about the same time, I think I was watching this Netflix documentary on Henry Lee Lucas. And so what I found is some not necessarily humorous, but I found some, similarities in these cases. So, even being a cop and knowing about like the big U.S. Serial killers, the infamous ones like John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, the Night Stalker. So we've heard all these names. We've
Hillary
seen
Clinton.
Yeah, so we know, like, and maybe guys are forgetting how many numbers each one's been attributed to, but you kind of just, maybe it gets washed out in the details. But so I'm watching this, I think, Netflix thing on Henry Lee Lucas, and it's a story. Basically, the guy killed a few people, and to just jump all the way to the end of that story, and really he killed 3 people. I think it was his mother, who used to abuse him and was a prostitute, and like I think they said they even gave him a CAT scan in the 80s, and he had like brain damage. They said he probably had when he was a child, lost an eye, but he had a rough time growing up. But I guess he killed his mother and he killed 2 other people that were known to him. And then I guess when he got caught on that, the 2 people, not his mother, when he got caught on those cases, he's in court and they're about to sentence him or whatever. And then the guy just all of a sudden tells the judge, well, what about all the other people I killed? And so I think there's a video, the judge kind of freaks out. They call a recess. So the Texas Rangers are like, whoa, what's going on? So of course you want to talk to him, find out, what are you talking about? So the guy starts copping to a couple. And if you watch like the timeline, it's like, oh, he admits to like 10 more. And then like, oh, now there's 60, now there's 100. So that number's going up and up and up. Right. By the end, they create a task force called I don't know if it's the Lucas Task Force or whatever, but the Texas Rangers are like this historic, storied law enforcement agency. And then they're investigating them. They create this, board, this committee to try to figure out what's this guy talking about. He ends up confessing to like 600 murders.
So, but only confessing. He actually only killed his mom and 2 other people that probably pissed him off when he was a kid and tossed him on his head. Yeah, and he sees an opportunity to seize on this. And hey, like, how long can I string these guys along on these fake confessions? And
see, I think
600. He's trying to go. That's over the top, man. Like 600 murders.
I think it's because he wanted to transfer jails, and then like some other prisoner or guard beat him up or something. And so then he wants attention. He's done for life. So now he's given some, I don't know how people think, but so they start looking at all these other cases. Now think about it. You're a cold crimes detective in that state or the next state over. And this guy's talking about, yeah, I've been on the road. I've killed everyone on these interstates. So you're like, wow, like maybe he killed these people that I have like all these cases on the board. So sure enough, they had detectives drive in from across the country and take appointments for like 1 hour at a time. And they're talking about like hundreds of law enforcement agencies sending their detectives to say, hey, we want to talk about this case of this victim that we found on the roadside off of Route 40 outside of Albuquerque. Hey, did you do this one? So of course the guy is like a palm reader. Outside Albuquerque, Route 40. Yeah, I remember her. Yeah, I killed her too. So that's what this guy's doing. So law enforcement is giving him some information because they got to jog his memory, but he's basically playing them. They took him out to crime scenes and he's pointing at stuff. Yeah, I was over there and just like leading him on. But like, so during this time, they don't cuff him. They bring him cartons of cigarettes. They're bringing them a milkshake a day, a strawberry milkshake from Scott. They have a deal where
confession gets them a milkshake.
Milkshake for every confession.
600 milkshakes in jail.
Okay, yeah. So how many is that? Like 3 a day? Because how many days is he going to string this out? Where like, and he's going to take dinner. I mean, there's a video of like a nun, or what do you call it? Yeah, a nun cutting his hair with scissors in jail. And so I'm thinking that's crazy. And then, so you listen to the story and you realize, like, these agencies were clearing cases. I don't know about necessarily, he was convicted, I think, wrongly of at least one, and then I don't know if it was overturned. But there were several where the agency said, "Oh, we don't care about the conviction. This guy admitted to it. It's on the books." So I couldn't find the stat, but
just clearing their case log.
Yeah, so out of 600 that he confessed to, it's only really 3. And then, but how many did the agencies clear and then refuse to put back up on the board as unsolved? So I'm looking at that. And then this one detective's telling me he's going down to Texas to a county jail, because this transient guy that's been on the, living out of his car, driving all over the country, is admitted to killing all these people. I'm like, so I basically told him, like, what's his name again? Is it Henry Lee Lucas? He's like, no.
And I heard that, I don't know if it's true or not. I saw that they said that he would go back to the scenes, especially on the ones where there was bodies of water, and agree to give them information about, where he hid the body or what he did with people that he never met or killed, in order to get like fishing in. And they would agree to let him fish for a little bit in the body of water to just hang out and chill out, unhandcuffed, just hanging out fishing. So he gets to sip a milkshake, go to a steak dinner, go out, get some fishing in, get a haircut from the nun, walk around the jails with no handcuffs because he's fake confessing to being a massive serial killer.
Taken to restaurants, free roaming access, knew the codes of security jails, cartons of cigarettes, taken out of jail and walked all over the place, like you said. And that's Henry Lee Lucas, the white guy with the fake left eyeball or whatever. And that's in the late 70s, early 80s. And then George W. Bush commuted he had one death sentence. So they commuted it because, in case. Yeah, there were some journalists that are like, well, I don't think you can drive 11,000 miles in 30 days and kill 100 people.
Something doesn't seem right.
I try to tell my bosses all the time, sir, logistically, this is not possible. So I don't think logistically Henry Lee Lucas could have killed this many people. But if you're trying to clear cases and you're like, I don't care, he admitted to it, we got it, that's good, that's all we need to hear. And it's just sad. But with the Samuel Little case, it's similar, because it's like the guy's in Texas, he's in a jail, he's admitting to all these killing, and then he was, his mother was a prostitute, he was abused as a child. So like there's similarities there. But of course, before the advances in DNA, you didn't have anything to link. I mean, even that, the Ted Bundy case, they couldn't link him, from Colorado to Florida or wherever he was at, because he stayed communicating, or weren't that in 30 years ago, they weren't communicating. But yeah, you got the Samuel Little case, and he is the most notorious, prolific serial killer in U.S. history. So some people say he confirmed 90, and I've read 93, but 93 would put him as the most prolific serial killer in U.S. history. And he started in from 57, 75 all the way to, I don't know if it was 2005. Yeah, from 1970 to 2005. And
Jeez.
He was on the road. He would pick up the people in the disadvantaged areas, basically the people, and he would really kind of do his research. He would talk to a woman at a bar, buy her dinner, buy her drinks, and she would say, yeah, I'm in from out of town, I just got divorced, I'm leaving my husband, I don't have any family out here. So when he's hearing these key things, that's telling him, well, this is my victim. So he would pick those types of people, and he was basically a strangler. And there's a lot of cases where he's admitted he would strangle someone until they passed out. They would come through and he would strangle them sometimes to death. He would have sex before, during, and after. Talking to the detective that talked to him, he still has this facade where he's trying to say he wasn't a rapist, like they all willingly had sex with him, and he just happened to kill him right afterwards or whatever. So, and his detective also said this guy was basically fondling himself during his interviews. Like he was really kind of almost, getting a sexual gratification from remembering these.
From going through it back in his head again, huh?
Really is nuts and sick. But really, one of the things that stand out with this guy is the guy. Some say he had like a genius photographic memory, where he had some art supplies where he drew pretty accurate. I mean, some of they're not great pictures, but you could tell he's got a great memory on like the eye color, the type of hairstyle. And this is 93 victims. He remembered names, locations, what they did for a living, where they were coming from what state, did they come from, what bar he met them at. He remembers the meals. And I think that was another thing where he was getting a kick out of like maybe having dinner with them, or he remembers what meal they had at what bar before he ended up killing them. So he has this great memory, but he's also getting older. He ended up, I think, dying in jail at like age 70. I think of like diabetes, heart disease, or whatever. But
diabetes.
Like, his photographic memory, man, he ended up drawing 50 like accurate, in color sketches of these victims, right? And he, I think he just wanted his sentence commuted to life, because he had one death sentence and it commuted to life. But I mean, and you look at how many times they've been arrested, and that's what the amazing thing is. This guy was arrested like 100 times and did 10 years. I mean,
for what?
Yeah, but I mean, everything just in this first like 15 years of life: fraud, DUI, armed robbery, assault on a PO, theft, and that's how he started out. But I guess he was tried on two different homicide cases, and I think either it was an acquittal or like a not guilty, I think, or acquittal on two of them. So he was caught and tried. But my thing is, I mean, I guess officers walked up to him and saw like a battered, bloodied woman passed out in his car. So, she was about to be killed. So the cop saves her. They charge him with assault, and then they upgrade it to attempted murder, and they tie another case of attempted murder on him. And he ends up apparently they didn't have enough evidence, so he takes a plea down to like assault. He ends up serving 3 months on what would have been 2 attempted murder cases. And that
seems reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, so the common denominator here is the violent recidivism that doesn't get caught in the system. I mean, and it sounds like, I don't know if this was the guy I was reading something where like as a teenager you get set, you go to jail for stealing a bike. Now, I don't know if that's reasonable, but okay, let him out after a day or whatever. But then now, for the rest of his adult life, he's murdering people and he's not in jail. So
yeah, man, I think we need to be, I think you got to be within reason, but we've talked about this before in the show too. It's like if something needs to change in our justice system, it needs to be like if you're found guilty of this crime, and I would say, yeah, it could vary state to state, but if you're found guilty of this crime, assault with intent to murder, right? Then this is the punishment. There's no range. It's not like, oh, you could get out here, maybe here. It's no, this is the time that you're serving. This is the penalty if you're found guilty of this crime, to avoid things. I saw people sometimes do more time, like sentenced because the judge was in a bad mood that day. Literally, you could tell, like, all these guys would come from the county to their district court where I was at, and they got popped wherever for their driving on a suspended license warrant, and they owed $700 some odd in fees, and they didn't show up for their community service or whatever. So they get locked up. They leave county. They come back for their court date, and you would get all 6 or 7 of these dudes lined up coming back from court for us to process and send back to the county that night.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, like, what'd you get? Oh, 93 days. 93 days. And they're going to do the full 93 days.
Yeah.
They did the full amount, and then they're done. They don't have the warrant anymore. They don't have community service anymore, because they'd already tried that, and now they give them the full sentence. And then I would have a guy that literally was a domestic third. So I don't know how it works in your jurisdiction. For us, you've got a first offense, a second offense, and then a third offense, which would be felonious. You know, even if it was just a misdemeanor assault, if you've already been convicted twice, now it's a felony. I would see guys on their third domestic violence that had served like 2.5 months, 3 months, and they're out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I've seen people serve longer sentences for bad driver's licenses. Something is wrong here with how we're sentencing people. You know, a serial killer, like, would we have stopped him from being a serial killer and killing 90 or 93 people? Maybe not, but dude, what if he had been in jail for 20 years for, I don't know, trying to kill 2 women? Like, maybe that would have solved some of these murders ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, you can't play the what if game, but at any point, if he had served substantial time on any of the serious charges, it would have took him off the street and probably saved multiple lives. And most people, we know that most people age out of crime, more or less. This guy, he died at age 80, but I don't know if he was killing people in his 60s or what, but he spanned like 4 or 5 decades. Yeah. So I mean, people over a 50-year period. So he didn't really age out of crime until he died in jail.
I wonder
the similarities, but that's why I was just like basically giving this detective a hard time, saying like, oh, you're just trying to clear cases off your and the guy's like, no, he photographic memory. He explained where he was at and everything, and just like the Henry Lee Lucas case. These guys are traveling all to Texas and in this small jail, taking a number, sitting down, seeing if they can clear their case. So like there's the similarities there, but one was actually a legitimate, most prolific serial killer in U.S. history, and the other one, he only killed 3 people.
Yeah, this guy sounds Samuel Little sounds a lot like Ted Bundy in terms of who he was choosing sort of intelligently as his victims. And
he said that. He admitted to it. I mean, he killed 93 people. And then the second most prolific in U.S. history is Gary Ridgway, a truck painter. He killed 71 sex workers, Seattle. But, the most infamous ones, we talk about John Wayne Gacy, 33, Ted Bundy, 30, Jeffrey Dahmer, 17, Night Stalker, 14, BTK killer, 10, Son of Sam, 7. And remember, like, just watching TV and these documentaries, people are freaking out. Son of Sam killed 7 people, but nobody knows about Samuel Little over like a 50-year period.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Why do you think no one knows about Samuel Little? I'd never heard of him.
Yeah, maybe because most people are getting desensitized just to violence and this in general. But I mean, we're in a social media day and age, and people still, aren't knowing that name. But I don't know. There's not really any good movies, portraying him.
I was going to say there should be a documentary, especially with this photo. Where else have you, in looking at that? Where did you find outside of him being able to recall everything? Did he, that of, utilize his photographic memory in the process of sort of like planning and executing his crimes at all? Where did that play into it that you know of?
No, I mean he was what do you call it, like a transient. So he was, going all throughout the country, and he had a girlfriend at one point. I don't know if she helped or not. He said, I think he said she didn't help or she didn't know about it. But he would pick them strategically, like at a bus stop or bus station, on the streets, in the disadvantaged areas. He's looking for prostitutes or like, going to the bars, looking for the depressed, but he's listening to them and they're telling story. There's like, he's saying like this, these women are telling him they love him and they're going out there thinking they're having a date or, just a prostitution, agreement. And then he's killing them, just because or whatever. But his memory really comes into play. And they said the science behind that might be that he really got off literally being a serial killer, so that was important to him. That's his identity. So he's going to establish those memories, each and every one ingrained in his head. So 50 years later, he can recall that. And if you think about it, any good memory you have, any memory that's important to you, you're going to recall it more often.
I was going to say, it's kind of like the guy that can tell you how fast the speed of the pitch was in the ninth inning with 2 outs on this against, with their favorite team, what the uniform was that year, how many people were in the crowd, how far the home run was, all those details. And then like when their wife is like, do you remember what I wore on like our first date? And you're like,
Right.
I don't know. So
And he was, and there is, it was documented that they were worried about like his mental decline, his state of health, his health declining. So they wanted to hurry up and get as much as they could from him. But I don't know how many steak dinners they gave him and how many milkshakes they gave him. But, he got, commuted from death sentence to, just life. But yeah, he had a lot of people lined up to talk to him. But no, I imagine they'd make a movie or something about him. No one ever heard about it. And like they said, there could be tons and tons of serial killers out there that we've never been able to identify. And I tell people that's why, like, this detective was telling me, you can get warrant for DNA, and they did with him. He was in custody for like burglary or robbery or something, and some LA detective was checking all these databases and got the DNA hit back then and linked the first 2 homicides they could link to him, and then it went from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was talking to this cold case detective, and he was saying how like these genealogy websites, like 23andMe and all these websites, like some detectives are able to do, this work where you can track or try to track down relatives and then get information on a suspect. And it used to be, I guess, a little bit easier, but then now they started some legislation where they want to block basically all law enforcement's use of that. And I'm like, well, that's a shame, because how many, because I know for a fact the detective told me they kind of hit a dead end because they weren't able to progress any farther down that, avenue of investigation. So, but I'm not an investigator, but I see it as possibly, frustrating when you can't clear, cold case homicides because of, the perceived, privacy, I guess, laws or whatever. And that's just up to that website company, really.
Right.
But,
I wonder if either of these dudes will ever make their way onto Mindhunter, that series about the start of the FBI's profiling team or whatever.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Is that you should go on that show? Why don't you try out for that one?
I'll go on. Yes, let them know.
I'll reach out. I'll reach out to my contacts at whatever network that is. And I'll still be right back here on my podcast. This is the extent of my influence right here. So what work do you see yourself doing besides casually researching serial killers in the future? What's the goal? If things go over the course of between now and the time that you retire as a cop, what's the ideal for you?
So like related to police work, I want to do my time and get out. But professionally, in the entertainment, I went from not knowing anything about the industry, like I told you, to not knowing about actors union, not knowing how to do. I got a police resume, and it's a lot different than what acting resumes look like. So I've just learned step by step of what I need to do. And like was it today or yesterday, I got an availability check is what they call it, where because of my previous work that people have seen, they're asking me if I'm available for this other thing. And so I'm waiting to get confirmation. But I just set like goals as far as like what I want to do next. And really is what I'm looking for is that second speaking role on a big, major production show or movie by invite, which would be considered an audition request. And then, go from there. I haven't been like a lead actor, like a lead on a show or a movie yet. I've come close, like a really good co-lead or whatever you call it. But yeah, I'm just looking at doing as much as I can and getting that exposure, auditioning for movies and TV shows. But this, you go from day player, which I've done, to like, also like a series, a recurring role, which I had on We Own the City. Like you see me in more than one episode. Mm-hmm. Step up from there would be like a series regular, which would be like, they're paying you like on a contract, and you're in like, could be every episode, and you're speaking a lot more. Those are the big roles. That's what everyone wants, is like a series regular gig on like a show like The Wire. where it just like explodes and it can help your career. But yeah, just those, but there's kind of like the steps that you got to take is starting out. Now I went from having no agents to like having 4 different agents in different markets in the country, and learning how to audition and like memorizing monologues. I took John Bernthal's, opening monologue from episode 1, where he plays like he's a sergeant. He's going to the academy talking to the students about use of force for like 5 minutes. And it's like a 10-page monologue. And he did a great job. And I'm thinking, I was an academy instructor. I've taught different things. I could see myself doing that. So I took his 5-minute monologue and I cut it down to 90 seconds. And then I used that like for an agent, like for an audition for an agent.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm doing. So I'm having success, and it's fun. My only fear was like getting into it. I didn't want to play like the typical casting of like, white racist cop. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't really want to get into that. Like what fun is that? So I've avoided, and you can
I already do that in my regular day job. I don't want to do it when I act.
You watch, like you see low budget, local, guy filming with his GoPro or something. And it's like the casting call. It's like, very, very ethnically diverse. And then it's like, white, balding, old, fat, cop, racist. Like no, I'm not putting in for that. So I can avoid.
Time to shave my head again.
Yeah, so I can avoid. But I don't have the power to turn down and some of the stuff that most of these are just me being myself. I might add a little bit to the character. So, but you got to do this whole thing, script analysis, where you're looking at what do they really want this character to look like and act like. And a lot of times these casting and directors will say, just be yourself. Ronaldo Marcus Green is a great director. He gave me absolutely like no direct. I actually had to ask him how we're going to shoot the scene, how are we going to block it? Because they were about to say just action, but he wasn't telling me which way to come in to the screen really. And he's like, oh yeah. I don't know. Just come from that way. I'm like, okay. So, I've been given a lot of latitude, and I've helped on these projects too, as the consultant, and helped cast other local actors. So I've been empowered by, other producers and directors, helping out on their projects. Even Walking Dead World Beyond, I helped with like a scene, but, being background, no one's going to give me credit for it. Nobody's going to put my name up on the screen. I'm not going to get paid for it. But at least I can say like I helped, and a director said, thank you very much for your help.
Right.
So I'll take that. I'll take credit for that. But yeah, just to continue to work. I mean, ultimately the goal is just to get better and do more projects and make it an easy transition, from police work to totally retiring and doing it full time.
Well, when you become Jack Ryan in season 5, we can all say we knew you when you were on Failure to Stop Night Shift, baby. That's it. Dude, I appreciate you hanging out with us and telling us about serial killers who get milkshakes for fake confessions. Give our audience plenty of ideas. Don't go really killing anybody, and like Samuel Little. Even if you have a photographic memory and it turns you on, just don't do it. That's my advice for you. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you, dude. And Tansy, get home safe. I miss you. I love you. And the kids need you at home, so get there. All right. And don't spill any milk on the way home. Skate milk daddy. Skate daddy. Transit. Anyway, good night. See you next time.